I did happen to stumble across this book while I was in my room earlier. I'm sorry, Aston Villa fans, but it looks like you're back in the Championship for 25-26. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the last video. I built this background, it's absolutely class. I've just been sat here staring at it for a week since that was uploaded. This weekend is the first weekend of the Premier League season. I'm absolutely buzzing with it. I've been waiting for so long for this to come back. Not for Chelsea's results, but just for everything else. Chelsea seem to keep signing more and more players. Makes it more and more difficult to choose who goes in the back of my away and third shirt. Home is Cucurella. I'm absolutely ecstatic to get him because, I mean, the guy's got a lovely set of hair, so why wouldn't you want him? Today I'm going to give you my 24-25 Premier League predictions. I found it quite hard to guess where the teams were. For me, there's an obvious winner and there's an obvious loser out of all of them. I'm going to try and guess the player of the year, the young player of the year, the top goal scorer, top assister, most clean sheets, and maybe even the top transfer. Last year I done a predictions video over on my TikTok and I got 2 out of 20 teams correctly guessed. I got 10%. That was quite embarrassing. Today I'm looking for hopefully 5 teams right at the end of the season. I've done a Euros prediction as well. I didn't do too bad. I mean, I couldn't have predicted how good Spain was going to be, but I did predict how good Germany was. And obviously, if they didn't come up against Spain in the quarters, I think it was, then maybe could have won it as well. I do have a feeling this could get quite uncomfortable. So I'm going to put a chair just so it breaks the news a bit easier when I guess that West Ham are going to get relegated.
What's going on here? You want some?
I've literally just written down all of my predictions in here and a couple of notes next to the team and what I think is going to be their main factors as to what they do good or what they do bad this season. I might start with the top because I feel as though it's easier to guess, even though it can be quite tricky. So for me, I've actually put Man City to win the league again. I feel as though Man City are going to win it for the 5th time in a row. I think their squad is quite bare compared to what it has been in previous seasons, but the players are their quality, and if they get their main 11 out every single week, they can seriously cause damage to teams. And with the best manager, maybe of all time, or definitely in the world at the minute with Pep, I think that if he can get Haaland shooting as though he did 2 seasons ago, with Bernardo Silva playing as well as he has been behind him, I think they can win it again. But in second place by I think about 3 points for me is going to be Liverpool. This could be quite controversial as Klopp left and Slot's back in, but I have this kind of feeling that Slot's going to be able to make Darwin Núñez perform to an absolutely different level to which he has been. Reports coming out of their dressing room that Arne Slot is a really, really good coach, so maybe he could carry on what Klopp started. Well, I say what Klopp started, I mean he only won 1 Premier League and 1 Champions League, so take that as you will, but I do think that with their main 11 again, they can do some massive damage. But I do think if they just get Núñez, everyone's seen the quality he has, I definitely think he could maybe even get top goal scorer. They're always going to be up here at some point. Sadly, it's going to be Arsenal in third. Their squad is getting stronger every single season, and they've just signed that Calafiori, who literally looks like a Maldini regen, not necessarily because of how he plays, literally just because of his hair. But don't get me wrong, Arteta is a brilliant manager, and he has learned from the best in Pep. But I seriously just think they're that kind of couple points short of just winning the league again like the last couple of seasons. I feel like they need a proper bagsman striker, and if they've got Havertz up there, I'm sorry mate, but you're not going to cut it. If you watch him week in, week out, he has his moments, but then he also has his moments of just absolutely being a donkey. You can definitely see the talent in him and the rest of the Arsenal squad, but maybe they could actually win the league this season. Let me know if you think they will in the comments. I personally hope they don't, because I know a lot more Arsenal fans than I do Man City fans, and they're also a London rival, so why would I want them to win it? Because of the Saudi takeover a couple of seasons ago, I personally think that Newcastle are going to be one of the best teams in the next 10 years. They're not necessarily there yet, but I definitely think within the next couple of seasons, they'll be challenging for trophies and definitely the Premier League. One of the best teams in the league, but not a team that's ready to win the league. So I reckon they're going to get 4th place, just into Champions League. 4th, 5th and 6th and maybe even 7th is going to be very tight, maybe only a couple points in it. The only issue I find with Newcastle is their squad depth. They've got really good first 11, but when it gets further than that and they start getting a lot of injuries, which they did last season, they could massively drop in form. It's quite heartbreaking to have not put Chelsea in the top 4, but for me I reckon Man United are going to get 5th. I'm not too sure if Erik ten Hag is actually the man for the job, but maybe this season he can prove himself. He's managed to prove himself in the Carabao Cup against Newcastle a couple of seasons ago, and against Man City in the FA Cup final. I'm just kind of sat on the fence with him. I mean, for me, I'd love for him to stay as United manager because he hasn't got that wow factor in my opinion. But you saw what he was like at Ajax, and he definitely knows who good players are. apart from Anthony, the fidget spinner. He definitely has some sort of knowledge, and he could potentially be massive for him if he decides to put his finger out of his.
Finally!
I can now say Chelsea. We're going to finish 6th this season, literally exact same as last season, or did we finish 7th? How we got there from like 13th at Christmas, absolutely mental. Still don't necessarily know why Poch's been sacked. Even now, I'm thinking about the manager change, and I don't know if Enzo is going to do as good as Pochettino. Pochettino was awful to watch for the first half, but the second half, the players all came together. But was this because Cole Palmer just literally carried us last season? And is he going to do it again this season? I think a player of his qualities and abilities, you don't lose your touch. You don't lose how you play. It's more intelligent, and he'll never lose that. I'm so praying and hoping that he's going to be able to put it out of the bag again. We could probably do about 4 squads because of the amount of players we keep signing, which at the moment of filming this, we're after João Felix. And if you've watched my videos before and you've seen some of the shirts I have, I would love for this signing to happen. Is when he came to us on loan, I actually got him on my home shirt because I think his talent is so unbelievable. Because of their season last season, I have put Aston Villa in 7th. Villa completely shocked me last season and they got top 4. But this season, I seriously think with playing Champions League and losing Douglas Luiz, who is massive to them, he's gone to Juventus now. But they have got Onana from Everton for like 50-something million. So it's a good replacement, but I just still don't think they're going to have that edge to get themselves back into the top 4. Unless Watkins keeps on firing as though he did last season. In 8th place, I've predicted Tottenham Hotspur. I don't like Ange's tactics. Against Chelsea last season, when they conceded 4 to us, they just looked as though they really struggled with a high press and they were just constantly at the pitch. Easy for teams to counter-attack them. Solanke can carry on his form. Maybe it can be a bit different. I still feel as though they miss Kane, because what club wouldn't miss a geezer who bags 30 goals a season and is massive for them? A massive factor for me as well is if Son can perform how he has the last couple of seasons. He's getting to the later end of his career now, and when Kane wasn't there, he always was, but will he be able to produce it again? In 9th place is a team in which could actually be a lot higher in my opinion. I've put West Ham. Their signings of Todibo, Fulkrug, the winger from Leeds, who I've just forgot his name, Somerville, I think it is. The signing of Kilman from Wolves. There's some massive signings, and they can completely boost their squad. Can they get it working? I'm not too sure who their manager is. I know it's not David Moyes anymore, so that could be quite big for them. We've signed a lot of players that can really change your first team. The problem I find is if they get injured, you've put all your money and all your effort into getting them, and you've done a brilliant job at it, but it's kind of like Lenny Yoro, who's just signed for Man United. He's young and he's going to transform their defence for years to come. But as I'm filming this, he's just got injured, or got injured like a week ago, so he's injured now. I'm not too sure how long he's out for, but that is a massive loss. If this were to happen to Todibo and Kilman, I think that could really damage their season hopes. Smack bang in the middle of the league table, just in the higher end of it, I've put Fulham. I think with the signing of Emil Smith-Rowe, it can massively help them going forwards. He's a player who's kind of been left out of Arsenal in recent times, and you saw in the kind of lockdown period of games, he was brilliant and he has such potential. Him and Saka were going to be the partnership for years to come, but obviously that has not happened very well. But on the other hand, they have lost Tosin and Palhinha, which I think could be a massive difference in whether they're going to finish 10th or even lower. So 11th, I've put Crystal Palace, and after thinking about it, I don't think they should be 11th. I think they should maybe even be lower, but we're going to stick with 11th. I'm not necessarily sure who's signed. I completely forgot to look up who they've signed. But I know a player who they've lost is very special. Elise, he's just gone to Bayern Munich. He's been carrying France in the Olympics this summer. He's got such talent, and him and Eze are a brilliant pairing. At the minute, Eze is still at Crystal Palace, but if another team snaps him up, yeah, it could be very bad for them. Them two in the wings are a streets won't forget pair, but sadly that is broken up. French striker Mateta was being an absolute bagsman for them the end of last season. He's carried it on to the Olympics for France, but can he carry on into next season? That is the question. So in 12th place, I have a feeling this is going to be a decline of a club in which is quite close to my home, not close to my heart, but close to my actual postcode. It is Brighton. I've never actually been to their stadium. I need to go to the Amex. Maybe I could be proved wrong, because Brighton have always just kept this kind of circle of selling the player for a lot of money and then signing a replacement who's younger, cheaper, who's then going to sell for a lot of money, and then signing their replacement. So you kind of think at the beginning of the season, oh, on paper, they've lost Caicedo or McAllister last season, but then they've brought in replacements in which this season we don't even know about. So 6 months' time, they could be one of the best wonder kids in the world. but we just don't know about them yet. I also worry that if there's no De Zerbi, there's going to be no party in Brighton. That is going to be a big factor for me as whether they finish 12th. I wish I kind of swapped this around a bit, but I'm going to stick with my guns, stick with my gut feeling, even though I got 2 out of 20 last year. So I've put Everton as 13th. Well, I disagree with my actual choice. I should have put them fighting relegation, but proper Brexit football under Sean Dyche, it could go quite well. 4-4-2, hit it long to the strikers, see what they can do. I'm not sure if they've still got Calvert-Lewin. If so, I definitely think he has talent to produce like 15-20 goals this season. He showed it a couple of seasons ago, around 2020, when I definitely think he can recreate it if he is fit. They have just lost Onana, their massive defensive midfielder. He's gone to Aston Villa for like 50 million, which really could sting Everton defensively. I do worry about Brentford, but I do think how they play is absolutely brilliant. After doing a bit of research as to what their squad's looking like for this season, I've actually found out that Tony is injured to near on the end of 2024. That is a massive loss, but they have just signed a young Brazilian striker, or say young, a 24-year-old striker from Brazil. No, he's Brazilian from Club Bruges. They have signed Igor Thiago, who bagged 18 goals in the Belgian league last season. I think that could be very good for them, but has he got the experience as Tony does? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm kind of gutted for Brentford because if it was me, I'd have definitely cashed in on Tony. I know we were after him for quite a while. But obviously, I don't think anyone's going to sign him when he's going to be injured till December. They'll probably go in January unless he comes back and just starts scoring for them again. Just below them, I've got Nottingham Forest. I truly believe that with their young players, their young wingers like Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, they can really start performing well and carry Nottingham Forest above the relegation zone. They've also just signed Elliot Anderson, a young midfielder from Newcastle for about 40 million, so a big money move for them. Could this be beneficial? I'm not too sure. Hopefully he can perform as to how much his price tag is for that young. We're going to wait and see. But Hudson-Odoi, I regret him not being at Chelsea still. I saw him score against Juventus when I was there. And just the guy coming through, he was so special. Everyone in the club knew how special he was. So I'm kind of gutted that he lost that form, but that big injury when Sarri was a manager just before the Europa League final, that took a massive hit on his career. This is now the bottom 5, and if I get all of these right, I've managed to get 25%, which is my aim for this season. So I put Bournemouth as 16th place. Solanke, their top goal scorer from last season, who in my opinion completely carried them. Some of his goals were just moments of magic from him, some brilliant goals and some really cool celebrations if you like anime. He's just signed for Tottenham for about 60 million, which is massive for Tottenham. Really not good for Bournemouth because that is their main striker, the one who has that quality to carry a lower side like them. He's not there anymore. Hopefully they can find someone else to kind of replace him. They have got players like Cliver, who I think hasn't left yet, could maybe put in some massive moments to keep them out of the relegation battle. So if you'd have asked me about 4 months ago when the season ended, I would have probably said that Leicester would be a lot higher than 17th as to where I predicted them. But since then, they've lost Dewsbury Hall, who I'm guessing was quite important to them, under Enzo Maresca, the new Chelsea midfielder and Chelsea manager. I don't even know how I feel. I don't watch the Championship, so I didn't necessarily watch them play. But for me, if a manager brings over a player, it's because he wants him to play and was beneficial or good for them the season before. Just like when Sarri joined Chelsea, he brought Jorginho, who turned out to be a massive player for Chelsea when he was here. So I do apologise if I haven't said your team yet. It means that I think they're going to get relegated. One of the teams I hope does go down because of where I'm from. The other two, I just simply don't think their squad is strong enough. So in 18th place, I have gone Southampton, my hometown's rivals. I'm from Portsmouth. We don't like people from Southampton. Southampton don't like people from Portsmouth. I just don't think their squad is strong enough. I did have a quick look at their squads. No one really shone to me apart from Diaz or Adam Armstrong. Diaz have literally just signed for quite cheap. I think it was like about 8 million, I'm not too sure. But he could be quite good for them. He was really good in the Championship a couple of seasons ago. So maybe he has that star quality to again prove me wrong and get them out of the relegation zone. I just don't see it happening. In 19th, after losing Pedro Neto, who I know is injured, but when he was playing last season, for me, he was one of their star players. And they've just lost Kilman to West Ham as well, which is a massive loss. I think Wolves will be 19th place. This sadly will mean that Wolves will be relegated. A team who I thought had made themselves into a Premier League side will be going back into the Championship, going to have to restart, potentially lose a lot of their players, but it could be beneficial for them. A nice refresh, a bit of money when they get promoted next season. Or sorry, not this season, yeah. this season, the season after, so 25-26. They could get promoted back up. Football Shots 101, I'm sorry. I've put Ipswich as last. I know you're an Ipswich fan, and they've got one of the players in which I'm quite upset that Chelsea sold, Amari Hutchinson. I just don't think Ipswich are going to have the squad to keep them up. I might be proved wrong, and in a way I'll happily be proved wrong, because it's a new team into the Prem, not the same kind of recurring, getting up, getting down kind of teams. They've also signed Liam Delap from Man City. I signed him on my FM career mode a couple of years ago for Vitesse. He was absolutely brilliant, so he's kind of a wonder kid as such. I definitely think if he gets game time, same with Murray Hutchinson, they will want to prove the bigger sides that they shouldn't have sold them. That is my 1 to 20 in the Premier League sides and where I think they're going to finish. I'd be kind of happy to be proved wrong by a couple sides, but the main one would be Chelsea. I want us to win the league, but it won't happen. The signings I think will be massive for this season for their clubs is Calafiori for Arsenal. He has potential to revolutionise their defence even more so next to Saliba or Gabriel if they went into a back three. Or it could be Emil Smith-Rowe for Fulham. I seriously think that he also has the talent to prove everyone wrong, to prove Arsenal wrong as to why they should be playing him instead of Havertz or instead of Odegaard. The most clean sheets I think is going to be Edison. I did toy with putting Raya down for this one, but I'm aware that Arsenal have two first 11 goalkeepers, so he may not get as much game times, which means he may not get as much clean sheets. My top goal scorer will have to be Darwin Núñez if Slot can get him working, get him firing, or the boring answer now of Erling Haaland. Last 2 seasons he's got it. He's an absolute robot, and again, when he's on form, top 10 striker in the world. Maybe even top 3, in fact. My top assist is going to have to be a boring answer of De Bruyne, and my favourite player at the moment, Cole Palmer. If he can just perform as to how he was performing last year, maybe add in an extra 10 assists, wow, that is a Ballon d'Or winner right there. So my young player of the year, I do think it's going to be Garnacho. He's scoring for Man United in some big games at the minute. He recently scored in the Community Shield. His overhead kick goal last season just proves his talent. So I was stuck between 2 players for the player of the year, and in my opinion, as a biased Chelsea fan, I think it could be Palmer. He should have won it last year, but also, it could be Rodri. I know I've forgotten about Phil Foden, but after the Euros, I have no faith in him whatsoever. Without Rodri, Man City do not play well. Without Rodri, Spain struggle to play well. He's so beneficial. He's like the Busquets to a prime Barca. They need him in every single game, and he literally wins games for them. He wins finals for them. So he is probably going to be player of the year, and rightly so, because he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. In my opinion, he should probably be up there with the Ballon d'Or nominees. I'm going to do a video reviewing this at the end of the season. Fingers crossed I can at least get 5 right. I know that's quite extreme, but if I do get any wrong, hopefully they're ones I want to get wrong, and I don't see Arsenal or Spurs winning the league. Let me know if you're annoyed where I put your club. Let me know who you think is going to win and get relegated. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you soon.